And one other guy I was interested in too, Tajay Spears out of
Nice.
Tulane, the Green Wave.
Yep.
He reportedly measured in 5'9.5", and he measured in above 200 pounds at 204. So I know that's that all too elusive. If you're a small running back, if you get over 200, close to 205, then we can overlook the fact that you're small. And I mean, he's quick, he's shifty, he's very fun to watch. I know the concern was the size, but I mean, he did have a torn ACL in 2020, but came back and had 2 strong years in college. So I know the fantasy community loves him, but I'm also hoping that the NFL community and those GMs and those owners fall in love with him and give him hopefully day 2 draft capital. Probably not, but we'll see what happens there. But any thoughts on any of those guys or anybody else?
Yeah, I'll start with Spears. I mean, I hadn't seen him. Obviously, Tulane was 10-2 in the regular season this year, so they were doing something right down there in New Orleans. But he shredded USC in that bowl game. I mean, tore them apart. That was pretty awesome. Granted, USC's defense was horrific this year, but I think it speaks volumes on national television, when they're playing on New Year's Day or whatever it was. You're getting all those eyeballs, and he's just shredding Lincoln Riley to death, and he can't do anything to stop it. That was pretty eye-popping. This is in my opinion, this is a running back deep class. I think I see 10 to 15 running backs that could be, that in my opinion, are top 4 round grades. Granted, many in the NFL community, where their opinion actually matters, value running backs much differently than I do, because they aren't fantasy players. They are trying to win football games, and obviously the shelf life of a running back is much shorter than anybody else on the field. So I look at him and I say he could be a day 2 pick, but given that in another year, I think he is a day 2 pick. And this year, I think it just depends on your flavor of the week. I think it just depends on the team and the fit. But I love that pull from you, because he's a name I think that I will be looking for myself in fantasy rookie drafts.
If not Bijan or Gibbs, then
that's a tough one, Chew. I think a lot of it will depend on the team, the draft stock. But knowing what I know today, I think I would take my heart over my head, and I would go Sean Tucker from Syracuse. Mm-hmm. He's had a really special couple of years. And I'm an ACC grad, obviously Virginia Tech Hokie. And he's been very successful against Virginia Tech. And another running back who's been very successful against Virginia Tech, who had over 300 yards against them this year, was Israel Benakanda from Pittsburgh. So I think Benakanda might not have the size and speed to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick, but I think today I would go Sean Tucker with an eye towards sort of like who's in the back of my mind for a later pick of, who's somebody that could be a late round steal. It's a Benakanda. But let's just say I couldn't have Sean Tucker. I would go straight to Kendre Miller from TCU. I think that he was a large portion of why they were able to make the title game. And I think the fact that he was not in the title game caused them not to score more than 7 points. I won't say they wouldn't have gotten blown out. I think they would have, but I think they would have scored more than 7 with Kendre.
Yeah, that was an interesting development in how that game ended up going for TCU, and ultimately how Kendre Miller could be viewed there, because I mean he wasn't able to play. It wasn't like he was just all healthy and sitting it out, but that he wasn't able to play. They got whooped, and we can kind of guess and project what it would have been. It would have at least been different and been better for TCU, but that kind of gives NFL people and fantasy people the impact of like, this is a complete guy. We already know that, but look how badly TCU got whooped. It likely would have still happened, but Kendre Miller would have still been a difference maker for that offense. And Sean Tucker, of course, I mean, I'm curious to see what he runs. I know he's got that track speed, if I remember correctly. And having track speed with that kind of a frame is fairly terrifying, but I'd like to think that would allow him to withstand the trials and tribulations of an NFL season. And at a minimum, I would say be a part of a committee that if he is the more durable of the 2 or 3 in a committee, that allows him to be the one that is last man standing as injuries and things stack up there.
Sure.
And I'll just throw my hat into the ring here with Charbonnet, I believe is I'm saying it correctly. There's an accent right there. Zach Charbonnet, I was very excited watching him and hoping he was going to come out last year. I was kind of surprised why he didn't. I know he's a bit older as a running back prospect. I think he's 22. But the size, the speed, I'm worried as someone who drafted a bit of this guy that he's going to be an Isaiah Spiller result in terms of once he gets to the NFL, it's just not going to really translate. But I feel like Charbonnet is a better, more complete player than what Spiller was. But I know Spiller's stock seemed to kind of be doing pretty well throughout the college football season. It kind of teetered off, didn't get the draft capital, and then once he got to the NFL with the Chargers, he turned into what the draft capital said, which was just another guy. So I'm hoping Charbonnet does actually get capital that will warrant him getting opportunity to be hopefully a leader in a committee. I think he could do a little bit of everything, so I'm excited to see how that one goes.
Yeah, Charbonnet, I mean, after the transfer from Michigan, when he's leading the backfield in UCLA, he was a stud last year. And in running backs, if you have a stellar year and you're draft eligible, you get going. Mm-hmm. And he came back this year and he was strong, but not amazing, and was outshined by, a handful of other running backs around the country. So, I think he's an interesting choice. The Isaiah Spiller comparison was interesting. I hope that he's a little quicker. I shouldn't say quicker, but faster than Spiller. And so I think, he's yet another running back in that second, third, fourth round mix. By the way, Spiller wasn't even the best running back on his own team. And, you had Devin Achane, who, if not for being 5'9", we'll see what he measures at the combine, but that guy is special. I mean, to me, he is Darren Sproles 2.0, but I think I still want to see what exactly he measures at the combine before I say, if not Gibbs or Bijan Robinson, then it's Achane instead of Sean Tucker. I think I just need to see how big he is first, because I love Jared Patterson from Buffalo. I mean, more than anybody else, but yeah, your boy. But we can't use two of those in the league.
No, and I do like the comparison. I know a lot of people, in terms of a smaller running back that has enough size to handle within the tackles, but also be just an absolute receiving threat. And they always talk about the Alvin Kamara comparisons. But I do love that you're going with the Darren Sproles, because I think people tend to forget that Darren Sproles was a bully for his size. He was basically, if Steve Smith was going to be a running back, that's what he was. He was just the friend for